when I was pulled out of myself, I'm very disoriented at that point because I'm in my spiritual body. I have hands, but they're semi-transparent, and I'm made of light. I'm not nearly as bright as what's up there at that point. I'm in this vast, you could call it a room, but I perceived that what was around it was immeasurable. So this was a room, but without walls. It was a place. It was a dwelling. It's where the Lord is. But above him, nothing was above him. And I'll get to that later. Everything was below him. He is the Most High, literally. But I didn't know I was there in the throne room at first. I was just kind of waving around like, what's going on? And I looked down at the floor. And the first thing I noticed when I was there was the floor. And it was made of crystal. It was like crystal. You could see through it. Underneath it was the entire cosmos. All things that were made were underneath it. And I was able, and as you probably well know, whenever you're in the eternal realm, you can perceive many things at once. I didn't know anything about these descriptions at that time. I wasn't really steeped in Ezekiel, or I didn't really pay attention to the passerby verse in Revelations that talks about the sea of glass and all the saints upon it. Yeah, so I'm seeing this. I look down at the cosmos underneath my feet, and I was just able to see that all the luminaries and all the things the Lord had made were underneath me. And at that point, I was like, I'm in heaven. I have to be in heaven. And I knew it, because at first I was just disoriented. And at that point, I look up and I beheld the great joyous gathering. I like to call it that, the joyful concourse of God's people and creatures. I saw men and angels. I wasn't shown any creatures there. I know that they're there, but I saw men and angels when I was there. And the men, a lot of them had fire around them, and it was just surrounding them like not a halo, but it was like their aura was fire. When they spoke, fire came out of their mouths. Wow. And it was pretty powerful. And these guys looked like any, picturesque Christian, imaginatory description of an ancient prophet. I mean, these guys had some beards. They had really pronounced cheekbones and darker skin than a white Polish guy like me. They looked Hebrew for sure. And they had just regular robes on. No one up there was dressed fancier than anyone else. They just all had great robes on. And the angels I saw next to them were, in between 10 and 20 feet tall. And they were made of light. They had human faces, they had faces. It's just they were so bright that I couldn't really even make out all the details of them. I just knew that they were really tall. They were the shape of men, and they were having just as much fun and joy as the men that they were gathered with. They were all holding these goblets, and they were drinking out of these goblets together. And I knew it in my spirit to be the wine of eternity. They were laughing, they were hugging, they were embracing each other, all of the above. They were enjoying each other's company. And I knew I was in heaven, and I was kind of actually settling into where I was at that point. And then I heard the voice of the Lord speak, of the great and mighty, all-powerful God, the Almighty, speak. And when he spoke, everything shook. It was like the voice of many thunders, just like the word says. I get excited talking about it because it's the most powerful, fearful, endearing, confidence-building, bold. I can't even explain it in human words. When he spoke, everything in the whole universe shook. Everything. And I knew it was him when he spoke. And it sounded kind of like an ancient Hebrew. And whenever that happened, I was blown away because I knew he was up in the front of this gathering. And everyone went silent, completely silent when he spoke. They all gathered in like a church set up. There was an aisle down the middle, and I was in the back. And I saw the light coming from the front. And they all faced forward. I couldn't see their goblets anymore. After a moment of complete silence, it was a heavenly silence. Awesome. They all started clapping. And they said, "Right and just are your ways forever. So be it done, whatever you say." And so they were saying what I later learned is exactly in the book of Revelations. Just and true are your ways forever. Praise be your holy name. And that's what they all said in unison. Whenever he spoke, there was silence, and then they started praising him for what he had said. And I was in awe at this point. And after he had spoken, they had clapped. A scene pulled up on the side of this crystal floor, and it was a scene from Earth or wherever he said to go. I didn't know where it was, but two angels got to the edge of this platform, and they flew wherever he said to go. And I just knew they were obeying him. I didn't know where they were going, why they were going, but I knew that they had heard his word and they had gone where he had said. And it was amazing.
Mm.
This point, I knew exactly where I was, and I knew that I wanted to be up there with him. And that same tenacious, heartfelt passion overcame me because it was the Lord. And I wanted to be there. So I'm in the back of this gathering, and I start going forward. And with the heart of any young man, like, I'm going to get up there. And in the back of my mind, I would said to myself, I'm going to see his face.